gotta get moving. We are gonna go to the Targaryen area of the palette. We are going to go, you know, we're gonna go into Dothraki a bit. I think that would be fun. Speaking of the Dothraki, one thing I want to mention real quick is that Daenerys has pulled the magic Dothraki trick more than once in the show. Upon rewatch, the funniest thing to me was actually in Daenerys' most boring season, debatably, was season 2, when she spent the season in Karth. Honestly, I think season 2 Daenerys is absolutely adorable because she's so entitled. Like, she's like, I will take what is mine with fire and blood. It's adorable. It's adorable. Like, if you don't believe me, go rewatch season 2 because it's one of the best seasons of the show and just giggle at how cute Daenerys is. So in Karth, after her dragons are taken, she goes through the house and, you know, she sees all the dead Dothraki that she brought with her. So I'm like, she only brought like 13 of them with her. It looks like all the Dothraki are dead, except for one guy that was with her at the time. Daenerys goes to the House of the Undying to get her dragons back. And then after she gets her dragons back, I guess they also had a bunch of Dothraki in there. She's like, wow, all these Dothraki that were dead, they're undying. She gets magic Dothraki, and then when she goes to what's his name's house, I'm gonna put this is definitely the only picture that I'm guaranteed to put up because I don't remember. It's like Zorazar's High or something like that. Like, she goes to his house and she opens the vault and there's nothing inside. She has like all these Dothraki ransacking the place after she traps him in the girl, the whore girl that used to belong to her brother. Weird show, right? Okay. Yeah, and she traps them in the vault to die. She has magic Dothraki then. So I'm glad it's not the first time the show pulled that trick. Like, I'm glad they pulled it in one of the good seasons because it really made me laugh. So I didn't feel too bad about the ending when she had magic Dothraki anymore. I was like, okay, I just accept this. This is part of her powers, obviously. We all miss that. The unburnt, the Dothraki bringer backer. Accio Dothraki! Alright, so let's talk about Daenerys. We're gonna go in with a little house Targaryen. Where do I begin on Daenerys? So how about, like, how do you just entirely change the character? Oh, how does somebody just do that kind of 180? At least in the past, when Daenerys had a reason to hurt somebody, like, she, you know, had a reason. And here's the thing. If they wanted to burn down King's Landing, I'm so not opposed to it. If they wanted to burn King's Landing down by dragon, so not opposed to it. But here's how you do it, okay? Here's how you do it. Sneak peek into season 9 of Kat's version of Game of Thrones, the finale we would have been watching while we were in quarantine, had this shit gotten down the way it should have. What would happen is Daenerys would hear the bells ring, you know, much like before. Her and Drogon are big and bad, everybody's scared, and she's pissed off. Reasonably so, reasonably so. Cersei's a bitch, and an evil bitch at that, okay? Daenerys sees the Red Keep, gets pissed. The imagery is great. Her being angry on the dragon, oh, live. Such an iconic image. The outfits in season 7 and 8, maybe they're a little modern, but snapped. Great costume design. Daenerys getting mad that Cersei is, you know, done horrible things and that she's in the Red Keep, and even more mad that, you know, she's using people to dissuade Daenerys from burning her down. And she's like, you know what? Daenerys makes the decision. She's like, it's better to burn everybody down in the Red Keep with Cersei inside than let Cersei live. I think that needed to be the moral thing. It was the question of whether to bring proper justice to Cersei or to bring fire and blood upon Cersei. And because Daenerys picks fire and blood, Cersei has one last trick up her sleeve because she's heard all of this about how Daenerys is so good and how she wouldn't hurt the people. And Cersei, being that evil bitch that she is, doesn't believe that about anybody. She's like, everybody will kill somebody. And if she kills me, she's taking all of King's Landing with me. And Cersei has formed a network of wildfire all around the city to just burn the whole place up. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. So Daenerys, pissed off, she's like, Cersei needs to die. And then she goes and burns down the Red Keep, and much to Daenerys' horror, she sees the wildfire bursting from the Red Keep out to the rest of King's Landing, and she is horrified at what she's done, and even more horrified that Cersei would go to that length. Because let's be real, Cersei is the final boss. You know, besides Daenerys' own madness, if this is the route we're taking, if we're going evil queen, this is where you go with it. Take note. This is probably the only part of Game of Thrones that I've rewritten well in my head. Thank you. So, Daenerys is going to be horrified. She's just destroyed all of King's Landing because she brought vengeance down upon Cersei. And this is going to drive her really deeply insane, disturbed. She becomes haggard and starts looking different. She is just weighed down by the guilt of this action. She is queen, but she's queen of the ashes now. Because we had to bring that in, okay? We had to bring it in. So when she's justifying herself to everybody else, she says it was Cersei, it was Cersei. Cersei rigged the place to blow. And Daenerys has demolished most of her forces, most of her allies with this move.
Hey, editing me here. So here's the deal. Daenerys gets really impatient because it actually takes Jon a long time to travel from Winterfell down south to King's Landing. Because remember how, it took Robb 3 seasons to get to King's Landing and he didn't even get there? Yeah, we're going to respect that it takes a while to travel, and it's going to take Jon a minute to get to King's Landing, and he's going to be late to the party, which is going to make Daenerys feel very impatient and impulsive, which is why she just goes ahead and burns down the Red Keep, because nobody's really there to check her impulses and to make sure she's not doing anything crazy. So yeah, and I think her being impatient would add an extra aspect to it, because Daenerys historically makes bad decisions when she's feeling impatient. Anyway, back to the regular video.
But I think that would be an understandable way where Daenerys not only kills everybody in King's Landing like she tried not to, but Cersei also gets in that last lick, because it's Cersei freaking Lannister and she's gonna get that last lick in. And not just that, but then that brings to a close the whole thing about the wheel being about personal dramas between the higher ups killing the people down below. That brings the story together, and that gives them a reason to rally behind a king who is impartial, a king who has helped the common people in the past by giving them vital information about mankind's greatest enemy, the others, right? That is how you end a tragic hero going insane because she does something horrible she can't live with, and she goes insane and they have to put her down like the mad dog she is. That's how you do that storyline, not, oh no, my best friend died and my hair is messy. I guess I better just kill everybody with a dragon. What? That's not the character we signed up for. Like, please rethink that. Just because you wanted to get to the end. We understand each other now. Next thing we are getting to, real quick, I'm gonna address Jon real quick. I'm gonna use a little bit of Bay of Dragons. We're gonna add a little bit of pink in there, okay? Because we like some pink. And this eyeshadow look is already all over the place, so what does it matter? What does it matter at this point, okay? And I want to talk about Jon just for a second. He had two lines the whole season. You're my queen, I don't want it. Jon, you had so many good seasons. You were the bright spot of season 5. Hard Home is one of the best episodes ever.
And you ruined it!
They didn't even do anything with the Lyanna and Rhaegar thing, which, don't get me started on how pissed off that made me. Like, that is not enough reason to go insane for Daenerys. It just isn't. Like, okay, you have a rival, that's not enough. I'm just saying, that's not enough. What I described just before was enough, but that's not enough unless she does what she did before. And then people find out that Jon is Aegon Targaryen and they're like, well, Jon's a good bloke. How about we support him? And Jon can still have his same 2 lines. You're my queen, I don't want it. Except now there's political intrigue and it makes sense. And Varys doesn't become an idiot because Varys is, I don't know, the master of whispers. So you think the dude would probably be pretty fucking good at whispering. Apparently not. And not just that, let's touch on Tyrion really quickly. Because I am gonna go back in to the Lannister for the shade Casterly Rock. And I'm just gonna use that to blend the crease a little bit. If Tyrion had been more bloodthirsty, I don't know why they insisted on trying to make Tyrion a good guy. Because after he killed Shae and Tywin, I would have thought like Tyrion would have like descended into like some true darkness, honestly. Like, just on a real note, like, he would be angry. I don't understand why they tried to like paint him as this guy who wants to save Cersei, because that's really what it felt like. Like, I agree with Daenerys. It felt like he didn't really hate his family that much after all, you know? Or at least Cersei. And he had every reason to hate Cersei out of all people. Like, she's evil. She's just evil. And I don't understand why he was trying to save her. It made no sense. It just made no sense. He should have been trying to kill Cersei, and that should have been the thing that drove a big wedge between him and Varys that would give him enough reason to be like, you know what? I know Varys is conspiring against you, Daenerys. Like, something to save his ass. Just, it was disappointing what they did to Varys. It was disappointing what they did to Tyrion. What can I say? If I had a theme for season 8, it would be disappointing. It's a shame what they did to Tyrion. They made him dumb. And I know I'm not the first person to say this, and there are people just out there who say it better, but I just had to touch on it. I had to touch on Tyrion. In the first 4 seasons, Tyrion was easily my favorite character. But it all just kind of went downhill when they tried to make him like a really good guy. I just felt like Tyrion, like, where's the darkness? Where is the darkness? I needed to see that from Tyrion. He was too interesting to be this like, oh no, like, please save Cersei, save my sister. No. He shouldn't have cared about King's Landing. He should have been like, yeah, just take the dragon, man. Like, real quick, just pop over, take the dragon. And Varys should have been like, That's how that should have gone. And then when Dany actually does burn down King's Landing, Varys can be like, see guys, I told you so. By the way, I know of this Aegon guy. His name's Jon Snow. You might know him. He was like Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. I heard he died, but came back. Not quite sure about that. But he seems to be a pretty good guy, and he did not kill everybody in King's Landing. So let's go support him. That would drive Daenerys crazy. So they could have just done so much better for all of these characters. I know. Why haven't I talked about the Night King yet? Well, because I haven't used the Night King shades yet. All right. I don't really look good in blues, if I'm being honest. So we are going to be using the shade Hard Home. Just kind of like topping everything off and making it pretty. Okay. So, the Night King. I was really disappointed. Look. The Long Night, the episode, was beautiful. Like, it looked great. I know it was really dark, but at the same time, like, take a look at it. That episode is gorgeous. But I was really disappointed because in the beginning of the show, and even up until the point Sam kills his White Walker, the White Walker spoke. Like, no, they didn't speak English, and they definitely didn't have subtitles, but they like had like the little like chittering noise. It was like, I really thought there would have been like kind of more coordination. Like, I think it's just, I think there were so many opportunities missed. Like, I heard that we were going to get frozen dead spiders, giant frozen dead spiders. That would have been so terrifying. And imagine the White Walkers like on them. And I wanted to see the White Walkers fight more. Instead, they just lumbered around and were kind of like, Like, what? do something badass. I wanted to see the Night King do something badass. We already saw him raise his arms. We want to see more. We want to see more. Like him riding on Viserion, that was cool. The whole dragon fight in the air, so cool. But look. We needed more. We needed more. Since we're talking about the White Walkers, I'm going to take the shade White Walker and I'm just gonna put it underneath right here so that I can continue talking about the Night King and have something underneath my eye. All right. Oh my God, that color's so pretty. I need to use that more. Dang, I mean, you can't see, but it really is pretty. I wanted to see more. I honestly would have liked to have seen a retreat from Winterfell. I think it would have given Daenerys and Sansa time to learn how to work together. I think it would have built a little more suspense. Oh, I really would have liked to have seen Jon do more with the Night King, at least have a fight, like at least get knocked down, at least almost die or something. And I needed more interaction between the Night King and Bran. We needed to understand, like, why were they just marching south? I think there needed to be a reason. And I think the disappearance of magic from the world, like it's somewhat mentioned in the show, like that they're like kind of not believing in magic anymore. There's not really much magic around. Like they know it once existed, but it's just less and less now. I think the White Walkers were supposed to be tied in with that somehow. And I think Bran was probably the character who was supposed to explain that and didn't. The ending felt really hollow because of that. The ending with the White Walkers, it just felt like, why did we spend 8 seasons anticipating this if it's all going to be resolved basically in one episode? It just didn't make sense and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to audiences. Like, it wasn't fair to the actors. It wasn't fair to George. Honestly, season 8 tanked the whole series. I'm gonna go in with Bend the Knee, which is one of the best shades in this whole palette, honestly. I constantly use it as like an inner corner highlight, and I'm usually the kind of person who will only use like one palette to make a look, but this is a color I dip into this palette for all the time. Okay, this is a hot mess, but it doesn't look that bad. We're gonna put on some mascara and just kind of like go in conclusion, you know, like real quick. We're not even gonna put on a lot of mascara because I'm not going anywhere. So, season 8 could have been great. It really just, it was disappointing. Like, if you're gonna end a show that had that much time committed to its characters, you need to do them justice. And that show was completely driven by its characters. You know, all of the plot lines came from the characters' actions, and the show was really just like an extended character study on so many different like types of people. And I really only like scratched the surface of all the things I could talk about Game of Thrones, as I'm sure many people who know me know a lot to say on the matter. And I try not to talk to my friends and family about it because they get really bored. They're really nice about it, but you know, like I can tell like they just don't care. And it's because like that ending just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Yeah, I'm not using a lot of mascara, my ass. And I know a lot of people who won't even start the show because they've heard how badly it ends. And I think that's a shame because the show was just so well done for so long. For it to just kind of drop off like that, like, it was just a shame. It was a freaking shame. Like, that show deserved better. The cast deserved better. Everybody who worked on that show deserved better, except David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, because it seems like it was pretty much entirely their fault that this sucked. And I don't say that just because that's who everybody else blames. I say that because that genuinely seems like who's to blame. You know, they wanted to move on to Star Wars, and then this tanked so badly, like, that actually got taken away from them. Thank God. Had enough people ruin Star Wars, honestly. So, we're gonna highlight and be done with it. I'm gonna just mix all the highlighters in this absolutely stunning Mother of Dragons palette. And I love how subtle this highlight is. It's just not too much at all. just the perfect amount to like catch the light. That's it. Anyway, the show would have, like, especially right now with the quarantine going on and everybody being stuck at home, people would have really enjoyed watching Game of Thrones season 9 and binge watching seasons 1 through 8 again. And I think a lot of people would have gained the appreciation for the show that show really does deserve. It really does. Like, I can't say enough how much that show deserves and deserved better. It was a great show. It was a great show. It was well written. The characters are compelling. Like, things would happen and things that would subvert your expectations in the way they're supposed to. And I miss it. I miss it. I'm going to miss it. And I really hope Fire and Blood is much better. I hope they learn from the mistakes that Game of Thrones made and that they do better. But they really have more source material for it. Told you. I love Star Wars. Anyway.